think we're live. So welcome everybody. Welcome to my mortgage live stream. I hope you're well. I'm well. It's a good day here in Cheltenham, Gloucestershire. I'm in my Tivoli studios here, and I'm broadcasting to you for about 20 minutes or so, as I've been doing every week for the last 3 years. But maybe you're on LinkedIn and maybe you're on Facebook, and it's the first time that we're using those particular methods. LinkedIn's finally let me in. Taken them a year and a half, but they finally let me in. Thank you, LinkedIn. Enough of that. Let's get down to some useful topics. Now, as you can appreciate, this is a mortgage advisor, broker, advisor, CPD, live streamy kind of thing. New updates, new ideas for you, new sales tips, all delivered to you once a week on Monday at noon. So, got 3 things for you today. Been taking a look at the mortgage market as always, and one particular piece of news came out to me over the weekend, which was this big bill from COVID. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about Facebook and how you can use it to lead generate at a very little cost. Coming on to that later. Really good, useful techniques there. And then a lovely little sales tip for you. And remember, selling is not a dirty word. You're a business owner. You've got to purvey your services, and that's called selling, or we used to call it selling many years ago anyway. So let's get down to the first piece of information I've got for you. Now, I was reading about the COVID bill, and we know about COVID. It's cost the UK government a huge fortune. In fact, the Public Accounts Committee, who sound ever so professional and important, reckoned, I think this is a fairly accurate reckoning, that it cost us £372 billion sterling to pay for COVID. And it's not ended yet either, probably as well. £372 billion. That's an awful lot of money. And the point is, though, that this money, which the government borrowed, did so very easily and had no problem selling these bonds, because it's all government bonds that they issue. They had no problem selling them because they sold them to themselves. And not a lot of people know that, because you've got this huge amount of money. We're talking about pounds sterling, so we're not talking about dollars or euros, because, you know, pound sterling's been going for hundreds of years. 372 billion of them it's cost us. And the government borrowed that every month over the last sort of 16 months or so, had no problem selling them because they borrowed and bought them themselves. It's a bit like, you know, taking out of one pocket and buying it with the other pocket. They actually pay interest to themselves. Now, they've done that, of course, through quantitative easing. We understand that. And what's effectively happened is you've got the UK government over here, there you go, and you've got the Bank of England over here, Bank of England there. And the UK government have issued these bonds. They use what's called the Debt Management Office now, Debt Management Office, which is just a department of the government, pretty much, really. And the Debt Management Office issued the bonds, and the Bank of England bought them. Now, the Bank of England, of course, bought them with QE money. Now, QE money, of course, is made up money. It's just printed money, electronic. It's not printing presses anymore, is it? And therefore, the Bank of England hold them. And the government pays interest, only a 0.5% or something ridiculously low like that, to the Bank of England, which is obviously owned by the government. So that's the situation. Anyway, enough of that. Let's talk about how we're going to get this paid off. Now, obviously, they could just cancel it if they wanted to. The Bank of England could cancel their money, and everybody, and they'll probably do that, but I don't think they will. What they're going to do, of course, is what they did probably much after the Second World War. Now, the Second World War, of course, which was, 70, 80 odd years ago, way before even my time. My dad was alive when the Second World War was on. Of course, we came out of the Second World War when victory at all costs. We borrowed a fortune as a government. We had an empire in those days, etc., but we didn't have a lot of money. We were broke after the First World War, but we borrowed an absolute fortune. And we borrowed more money from the US after the war as well, something like 500 billion. It dwarfs that figure in today's prices, that is. And we took 25, 30 odd years to get the national debt under control. Back after the Second World War, the government created or made the Bank of England responsible for managing the debt. They made the Bank of England responsible for managing this massive debt that we had. And their role was really just to keep interest rates relatively low so they could manage it and try and get that debt managed. And it wasn't until the 1970s when inflation took off throughout the whole decade, and then the first half of the 80s into the 90s as well, which pretty much eroded the value of the debt. And that allowed Tony Blair, or Gordon Brown at the time, 1997, to stop the Bank of England from being responsible for the debt. And in 1997, they created the Debt Management Office, which managed the debt. And the Bank of England, as you know, became responsible in 1997 for interest rates. And their job was to keep inflation, measured by the CPI, to 2%. And the way they do that, of course, is inflation is going up, they raise interest rates, inflation comes down, they reduce interest rates. They've been doing that since 1997, and they're doing a very good job too. Very good job. One of the best things that Gordon Brown ever did, apart from selling the gold, but we won't talk about that, will we? Don't tell him that he sold the gold at a low price. Anyway, enough of that. So the interest rate, therefore, has kept at bay, really. Inflation's been kept at bay by the Bank of England. But now, of course, we've got the situation where we've got this new debt. What's the government going to do about it? Are they going to get the Bank of England to be responsible for it? And if so, they'll probably just cancel the debt. Personally, I think what's going to happen over the next few years is inflation's going to start to rise. They're not now worried too much about the 2% target. In the States, of course, inflation's rising. In this country, inflation's rising. They're not too worried about the 2% now. I think the government are going, not encourage, but they're going to maybe allow inflation to rise a little bit. And that in itself over the years will eradicate the debt, because it does, doesn't it? When you have high inflation, it's good to have debt, because debt comes down in value. And that's what will probably happen. Now, for mortgage brokers like yourselves, be aware that interest rates will start to trickle upwards. They will, because as inflation starts to go upwards, the Bank of England base rates start to go up, and then mortgage rates go up as well. So be aware of that over the next 5-10 years. Maybe consider some longer term fixes. Maybe reorganize your charging structure so that you don't rely on 2-5-year fixed rates coming to an end and rebroking. Maybe look at another way of charging your clients accordingly. But that's something to think about. So that's the debt. Massive amount of money, isn't it? £372 billion, a lot of cash on that. A lot of money in anyone's book, really. Okay, let's get away then from the national debt, and we'll start talking about the next topic for you. Hope you're well, by the way. Hope you're well. Hope you're good. Hope you're enjoying the summer. It's August now. We've got pretty miserable summer in the UK, actually, weather-wise. They reckon it's going to be a cold, damp August. But then again, August has always been cold and damp. Even when I was a kid, it was cold and damp. We went down to Cornwall on our holidays when I was about 7 or 8, and guess what? It was cold and damp then. So anyway, things have changed. Of course they have. Let's talk about lead generation next for you as a mortgage broker. Lead generation. Now, lead generation, of course, is probably the most important factor that you need to get involved in as a mortgage broker. Now, if you work for a big firm, I get that. The big firm will supply you with leads and you don't need to worry about it. But you're probably paid a salary then, and it's all tickety-boo, really. But if you're a broker, a mortgage advisor, you work for yourself or a small firm, then you will live or die by clients, by new clients coming in. And you may have a client bank which you can look after, but some of these people move off, so you need to keep topping up the client bank. You need to be generating new business. Every company needs to do that. And you as a mortgage broker are no different whatsoever. So I want to give you some ideas then about Facebook. There you go. Facebook and lead generation. I just want to give this to you with the context of being a mortgage broker, not being a big company like Santander who've got millions of budgets to spend on this sort of stuff. A small mortgage broker, you don't have an awful lot of money to use for promoting, but you want to generate leads and generate them quickly. So let's see how you can do this. So, okay, why Facebook? Well, Facebook in Q2 this year, you probably read the numbers. They've all been releasing their profits and their revenue. And Facebook in Q2 for this year released revenue of $29 billion. Now, if they can give that to the UK government, we could pay off some of our debt, but they won't. $29 billion is revenue for a quarter. That's an awful lot of money they've made. Okay, that's not profit, but that's a lot of money. That's quite profitable, actually. Why and how have they done that? Well, they've done that by advertising. They are an advertising company. Yeah, they're social media and all that kind of stuff, but they're an advertising company, a modern advertising company. And more businesses are using online, Google, Facebook's place, LinkedIn, in order to advertise. Now, the thing about Facebook, though, is that most of their customers tend to be smaller businesses. Not a lot of people know that. They have the big boys, of course they do advertising, but most of that revenue has come from smaller businesses, SMEs, if you like, who don't have big advertising budgets, who want to make the most of every dollar or pound that they're advertising with to see the return they get. And that's where their marketplace is. Now, hold on a second. Isn't that where mortgage brokers are as well? Because that's what you are. Unless, of course, you work for a big firm. So if you're an SME mortgage broker, mortgage company, you don't have a lot of money to use to promote your services. You might think Facebook advertising is the right one for you. And if you are B2C, in other words, you sell to consumers, because most people that take mortgages are consumers. You get landlords and stuff like that, and commercial finance. I get all that, and maybe LinkedIn's your piece. I think you should do LinkedIn and Facebook, but there we come on to that, because you can leverage both and use one for the other. So how do you use it then? So let's talk about this then. Let's talk about how you can use this. So we're talking about Facebook then. We said to you that Facebook is an advertising company. They advertise. Now the thing about Facebook, of course, is they've got billions of people in Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. They own loads of things. They've got billions of people. And I know what numbers are. I don't know whether you trust these things, billions of people. But they've got over 2 billion people that actively use their site. That's in the world. I get that. You're not going to service to everybody, are you? You're only looking at the UK. But they've got a lot of people who will see the adverts. And that's the reason why you should consider it. So what do you do? Here's your blueprint. First thing you do is you set up a business page. You set up a business page, which is a free thing to do. Business page. You set it up, you populate it, you profile it, photographs, etc. A bit like your LinkedIn profile, really. You get yourself a business page going. Now, you can carry on using it for personal use. Of course you can. I'm not going to say you can't, but that's not advertising. Your personal use of Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp is entirely up to you. We're talking about business. So you set up your Facebook page. And the whole point about the Facebook page is you want to start posting regularly. You want to start posting. Now you're going to put out some posts. Now posts are photograph, updates, articles, information about your business, new products coming out, maybe new ideas, whatever it is that you think customers are interested in. You need to start posting regularly. Now the problem, of course, in posting with your Facebook page is not a lot of people probably see them. Yes, you do need to start getting followers. So you do need to start promoting followers to your page. Of course you do. And obviously the followers come from all the billions of people on Facebook. But it's going to take you time to get followers. Unless, of course, you've got loads of time, but most of us don't, do we? So what you do is you promote your posts. So once you get good at posting, you then promote your posts. So if I put this in red, you can see how this works. So what you do is you promote a post to the Facebook family. You pay money, of course you do. But what you do with this one is that you promote your post to a specific bunch of people on Facebook. That's why it's very clever. I think it's clever anyway. You can go on there and you can just click on a box and you can decide on, first of all, on the geography. So you might say, well, actually, I only want to promote to people in Derby. So you put the postcode in Derby. And particular parts of Derby as well. Derby's a big town. So you're only posting to those people. You then decide to post to an age or kind of age demographic. So you might say, well, actually, I'm promoting some equity release stuff here. By the way, Facebook's not for kiddies. It's not for young people. Most Facebook people, this population here, are older people. My daddy's 83. He regularly uses Facebook. So it's an older audience. It's not the young dudes, you know. So age, you might say, well, actually, I'll promote this to people aged 65 plus living in Derby. And I'm also going to promote it to females. Or you can obviously do it to the other way as well if you want to. And I'm going to promote it to people who are interested, so interests, in golf, in charity work, in helping the community. Because you can do interests. So suddenly what you're doing, cleverly, is, you're paying them a few bob, of course you are, but they're only going to give this post to people in their billions who live in Derby, who have an interest in helping the local community or play golf, age 65 plus, and the females. So you're not actually going to pinpoint too many people, but those people are the people that are your demographic. They're the people that you think you can help. And the posting on equity release could be something around a new product that allows you to raise money to give to your children in order for them to purchase their own first property in the Derby area, because prices in Derby are starting to trickle upwards. So that's how it works. Now, obviously, people then read your post. They need to take action, of course they do. So hopefully, as a result of reading your post, they will follow you. And because they follow you, they will then see what's going on in your world, and they may well go to your business page and start to contact you because you've got your contact details on there as well. So that's how you get people to see you and get on. So it's a really good way of reaching people. So that's one way of doing it. The second way of doing it and we'll keep to the black pen here, is you promote on your business page your events. Now that's what we do. We have events. That's how we make our living. So we have events and we promote them. And what we say to Facebook is, look, can you please promote this event to people who follow us? So we actually use Eventbrite. So if you're familiar with Eventbrite, it's a very good online system that runs events. We're talking about free events. We're talking about paid events. You do that if you want to. Eventbrite coordinates it, does it really well. And so you integrate that with Facebook, and you're basically promoting your event. Now, as mortgage brokers, mortgage advisors, of course, what you like, financial advisors even, our job really is to educate people. We like to educate people. And the more people we educate, the more people will think you're good and come to you for some business. Now, people on balance don't like to approach a mortgage broker unless they kind of know roughly what they're talking about. Nobody wants to appear dumb. Now, it's particularly relevant for a younger generation. They don't want to come to a mortgage broker and be dumb because they're expected to be research ability, you know. So they actually do like to research and find out. So what you do is you do events. You do online seminars. There you go. Online seminars or webinars as we call them. And these events or seminars, let's put them up there for you so you can just about read that. Seminars will be how to finance your first property, or how to raise further finance on your property, or how to release equity for the over 65s, or whatever is your event. And you need to put these things on. And yeah, there's a whole world of how to do that, and we can talk about it in other videos. But what you do then, as you can appreciate, is you promote those. That's all. You promote those in the same way. So there's two things you can promote. Work out a budget, see how much you can spend. You don't have to promote it if you don't want to, just get it going. And if you start promoting, people will come to your page, see you, contact you, and you will start to get a regular stream of new customers without doing too much work. Yes, the seminars will take up a lot of time and money, but you can promote these to your database and other people as well. And you should be doing that, by the way, because we sell our brains, nothing else. People say you sell mortgages. You don't. You sell your brain. Your brain gets the mortgages, sourcing systems, source them, etc. That's what we're selling. We're selling our advice, our ability, our consultation. Now, the last thing for you on Facebook, bit geeky this one. Don't know how you feel about this, but it's entirely up to you. I'm going to say it anyway because I love it. And that's old Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg was accused back in 2014. He's the guy that runs Facebook. He was accused in 2014 of buying a toy. And what he did in 2014 is he spent, I think it was $2 billion, I think it was, on a company called Oculus. You probably heard of it, Oculus Rift. They were ahead of the game in producing virtual reality headsets, you know, these things. And what he's done is he's coined this term called Metaverse. Metaverse. I don't know if you've heard the phrase. Let's squeeze that one over here, shall we? Meta. That's called that computer business verse, as in universe, but meta. It was coined by a sci-fi writer back in the 90s, I think it was. Anyway, the point here is that that's where he wants to take things. And yeah, it's a bit geeky, all these glasses, but what he wants to do, he wants Facebook to be known as the virtual place to live and work. Now, he's got all these people, of course he has, who come onto Facebook regularly. He wants these people to use virtual reality, and he's going to create this metaverse where people can come online, they get into this virtual reality space, and they can work and live in this virtual reality space. Whether you believe in that or not, I do. And I think mortgage brokers, we deal with people, don't we? Therefore, we can certainly make the most of that when it starts to come through, because it will. This is your modern Shopfront. I see so many brokers now opening up their new offices in town, big high streets, big brands. Inside, they've got their Chesterfield sofas and all their desks and things. That's great. I get all of that. That's where you want to go. But the world's moving away from that. Now, the modern world, of course, is virtual. You can talk to people via video, phone, etc. And this metaverse may well meet the way that you want to run your business. Remember, you've got to keep futuristic on this stuff. You've got to think ahead of the curve all the time, not do what everybody's done in the past. That's not the way to move in this current world of ours. I just think that's really cool. We're making the most of that because our world is talking to people. That's what we do. I talk to people, I educate, train, help people with their business, etc. And if I can do it through Metaverse, then I'm going to do it that way, because I'd be foolish not to. If I want to go get a classroom and hire a classroom, put people on chairs and put mints and cordials in front of them, that's like the Victorian days, isn't it? For teaching education, that's not what you need to do. Yeah, to meet people, team building, great. but that's not what I do. So there we are, just some thoughts. I hope you picked up a few ideas on Facebook there for you. I hope you made you think. There's a broker, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can do a few of these. You don't do them all because you won't have time. There's definitely one that you can leverage. Hope that's been useful. Bye. Hey up, how's it going? Oh, 20 minutes. So we've only got a couple of minutes left really, because I don't like these things to run too long. So let's get rid of this. Because what I want to do now is give you my final tip of the day, if you like. Because I like to give you a sales tip if I can do. Because I'm into selling. That's what I do. That's what I teach. And I'm not afraid of saying it either. Yes, you're an advisor. We advise. Yes, of course you advise. Because that's what the regulator wants you to do. And you're tested to make sure you do. And everybody that controls your networks will make sure you do it compliantly. And I get all that totally. But you're a business person. You do need to purvey your business. You do need to sell it. And therefore, you need to get fairly good at selling or advisory skills. This is skills now. This is not the knowledge. And what I want to talk about now for just a couple of minutes is when on video, you've got to sit on their lap. That's my title for you. So when on video, so we're talking to the customer via video or the phone, whatever is your methodology, and face-to-face as well. I get all that. But what I'm saying to you is you must sit on their lap. On their lap. That's your customer's lap, by the way. Now, before you start writing in on a postcard or sending me via social media, you can't do that, Paul, that's not right. Of course it's not right, it's a metaphor. You must sit on their lap. Now, of course, it's impossible to sit on their lap on video anyway, unless you're in Facebook's Metaverse, but that's another world in the future. So how then do we sit on their lap? Now, the issue here is that when you're dealing with customers and they raise a concern or two, or they're unsure about something, or they might ask a pertinent question about your charges or something like that, we used to call that in the old days objections, but we don't use that word anymore because objections are a dirty word. Now we call it concerns, issues, pertinent questions, drilling questions, or whatever it is. And I've seen advisors deal with these things, and they've heard them all before. That's the problem, because you've read a book on it, or you've been on a training course, or you just heard them before. They come back with the answer too quickly. So what I always recommend is that you sit on their lap before you answer their question, and that's an acronym, as you probably appreciate. LAP. There you go. Is the acronym. And what it stands for this, the L means that when you hear their concern, you must listen to it. You must hear it. You must make sure that you understand it entirely as they are saying it, because it will be different to everybody else's concern, even if it's the same concern which you read about in a textbook or somebody told you about before, or you've heard like 20 times the previous week. Because it always crops up, but give them the courtesy of listening to hear what they've got to say. And then you acknowledge. There you go. Now that's just the word that we use here. But what you're doing really is you're just accepting what they're telling you. You're nodding. Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. I understand it. I get it. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I'm actually understanding what you're saying here. I do acknowledge what you're saying. Give yourself a bit more thinking time as well if you acknowledge. So listen, acknowledge. Okay, I'm hearing you. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, I'm pleased you raised that. Or whatever words you want to use just to acknowledge them. And then the P is for probing. Now, probing, of course, this is asking more questions. This is to find out a little bit more about their concern. It's polite to do so because often the concern they're giving you may not be the real one. People are genuinely polite. Most people are nice. There are some exceptions, of course there are, but most people are nice and polite, and they're not going to be rude to you. So they'll say something maybe just to raise an issue which actually might be hiding something deeper. And that's the case. You just need to probe. Can you tell me more about that? Tell me when you first started to think about that, or what are you comparing my charge to, or whatever it is. Just keep probing a few questions at them just to get a bit more information, get a bit of a discussion about it, open up a bit of a chat. Now, once you now fully understand what the issue is, and you've probed it, then you can answer it or give your response, whatever that is. Then you can come back to it and then find out if that's okay with the customer and then move on to the next stage. So that's really what we're saying. Be careful when you hear a concern, you hear an issue, you don't just pitch in with your answer. Take your time. Remember, you must sit on their lap, but not for real, because that's not allowed. That's not allowed these days. Well, it's never been allowed, really. That's in sales. But on video, of course, it's impossible. Unless, of course, you get into Facebook's Metaverse. Gosh, there's the thing, isn't it? Think about it, virtual reality and all those good things. So, hope that's been a useful sales tip. Bye. There we go. Nice to just finish off for you. It's just going past 20 minutes now, so we're going to wrap up. These live streams are weekly. We come over to you on LinkedIn Live, YouTube, and Facebook. We've got a Facebook page, and just hope they help you. Really, they help you with your CBD. They update you. They give you new information, new ideas. We're all about getting new mortgage advisors into the sector, getting them all trained up, really good at what they do, and letting them out there in the sector itself. There's not a lot of training going on in the sector. It's expensive, you see. So we're delivering ours via virtual means. We've got a CMAP bootcamp starting next week, actually. If you're interested in getting your CMAP, got a new bootcamp starting on Monday. That's a great way of learning your CMAP using video and audio and all online and live stuff like this as well. So really cost effective because it's all virtual. Got that starting. And we're doing sales skills and mentoring, all sorts of ways of helping you to become a really good mortgage broker, mortgage advisor. That's what we do. Anyway, I'm Paul Archer. Hope that's been useful to you, and I'm going to see you next week, same time, Monday, 12 o'clock.